What happens next will challenge your perception of the relationship between a mother and son. If you don't read to the end, you risk missing the most dramatic moments of this story, which began as an ordinary trip but suddenly took a completely unexpected turn. And it all happened very quickly. The trip to the capital seemed like the perfect 18th birthday gift. Turning 18 is a significant milestone, and Mom decided to celebrate it with a trip just for the two of us. From the very beginning, it promised to be an unforgettable adventure, but no one could have predicted how profoundly this trip would change everything. The plan was simple: city walks, visits to popular tourist spots, perhaps dinner at a fine dining restaurant. Nothing out of the ordinary, at least, so it seemed at first glance. Upon arriving at the hotel, we immediately headed to our room. It was small but cozy, with a large double bed in the center. Initially, this didn't raise any questions, but as night fell and the city lights filled the space, a strange tension emerged in the air. The silence, which usually felt comfortable, now became oppressive, almost palpable. But this was only the beginning. From the window, there was a breathtaking view. The city twinkled with lights, and in the distance, like a guardian of the night, stood the famous TV tower. Mom and I stood by the window, admiring the spectacle in a silence that seemed to conceal something more profound. Do you know that feeling when something significant seems about to happen, but you can't quite grasp what it is? That's precisely the feeling that haunted me that night. Something had changed, but what exactly remained a mystery. The next morning, we woke up later than planned. The day's itinerary included a long-awaited trip to the water park. We decided to leave a little later to avoid the morning rush hour traffic. While making the beds, an awkward feeling began to emerge. Sleeping in the same room, sharing the same space, everything felt new. When our gazes accidentally met, a wave of heat seemed to pierce through me. She quickly looked away, but the tension in the air became almost physical. Arriving at the water park closer to noon, we found that it was a perfect day for water activities. Immediately after entering, we headed to the separate changing areas. As I waited for her by the exit, a strange premonition washed over me. When she finally emerged, I was speechless for a moment. In a form-fitting swimsuit, she looked stunning. Years of gym training had clearly paid off. Her figure was flawless, and I found myself having thoughts that should never, under any circumstances, have crossed my mind. "Where should we start?" she asked with a playful smile, as if testing my reaction. Stunned, I simply pointed to the nearest slide. We climbed up together, and with each step, our proximity became increasingly unbearable. I tried to ignore it, but the more I tried to distract myself, the more intensely I felt her presence. The descent was rapid. But what I remember most was the moment she splashed into the water with a loud, infectious laugh. For a moment, everything felt so natural, but inside me, a whirlwind of conflicting thoughts and emotions began to form. We continued to explore the park. As time passed, the tension between us only grew. It was a mix of fun and growing discomfort that I couldn't fully comprehend. At one point, we decided to ride a double inflatable tube, where one person sits in front of the other. As she settled in front of me, I felt the warmth of her body mingling with mine. It was a fleeting moment, but it was imbued with an undertone I couldn't ignore. During the descent from one of the highest slides, something unexpected happened. Our inflatable tube flipped over, suddenly plunging us into the water. My glasses flew off, and surfacing, I immediately looked for her. When I finally found her, she was still underwater, slowly rising to the surface. Her face showed clear embarrassment. She swam to the edge of the pool, clearly uncomfortable. "I lost my swimsuit top," she whispered. Her face burned with shame. My heart pounded faster. The situation was absurdly awkward, yet at the same time, there was something undeniably intimate about the moment. She remained in the water, trying to cover herself, while I, unsure what to do, dove in an attempt to find the lost piece of her swimsuit. Several agonizing minutes passed, but the search yielded no results. Surfacing, I looked into her eyes. She looked lost, almost bewildered. "We need to get out of here," she said in a trembling voice. We slowly swam to the edge of the pool, and fortunately, there was a more secluded area nearby. I got out first, and then she quickly followed, using me as cover. The moment, though brief, was filled with an almost electric tension. No one seemed to notice, and we silently headed to the changing rooms. On the way back to the hotel, the silence in the car was deafening. The awkward moments and the tension hanging in the air, all of it created an atmosphere that was impossible